Welcome everyone to this week's edition of our AMA report covering both technical and fundamental analysis of the crypto market. My name is William, head of XT Academy, and of course, as usual, your AMA host. Now, before we get started, a little bit about the company. XT was founded in 2018, currently serves more than 7.8 million registered users. There's currently about a million monthly active users, and we have about 40 million users in the whole ecosystem. If you haven't opened an account yet, definitely come over, check it out. Everyone's pretty friendly. We actually have a whole bunch of new tokens listings all the time, especially the projects that you don't see in the bigger exchanges because we collaborate with a lot of smaller projects, and so you actually able to capitalize on these new projects that you just don't see on the big exchanges until months, if not weeks later. All right, so a little bit about XC News before I jump into today's weekly analysis and fundamental analysis. That being said, we do have the Avalanche Poot. It's already online. Definitely go check it out. There's 9,400 IO tokens in the prize pool. You can definitely earn a little bit of that if you have the time. Now, we did have the new shark fin product that was launched a few weeks ago. This is still, I keep telling you guys, my favorite one because you guys get the guaranteed 8% APR return. But on top of that, you have that floating return above 10%. So this is really popular, especially for a lot of VIP users that I know in Tokyo and Japan. So if you have that extra stable coins, just putting aside, you just need to hedge against inflation but not buy the dip because you need to hold it as a cash flow. I think Sharkfin, the product, is perfect one for you because it expires every 7 days. So you just basically renew. You check your account once a week and you just renew your basically Sharkfin product. This way, you're making sure that you're always beating the 5% inflation rate. All right. All right, let's move on. That said, you know what? Let's jump in. I do have to quickly note that anything I disclose in this AMA is not financial advice, all right? It's just my professional analysis. It's my thought on the crypto market, and it's purely for educational purposes. That said, welcome back, guys. We're going to do our technical analysis section again. And this is where I'm going to do a deep dive in Bitcoin and trading, even for like those swing traders. I tend to be more of a swing trader myself these days because I'm just busy. But even if you're just an investor, this is perfect for you. I do have some interesting insights, so let's just jump right in. That being said, my very first section of my analysis is the 4-hour time frame. If you are not a day trader, I got to stress this enough because a lot of beginners make this mistake. If you're not a beginner, excuse me, if you're not a trader, if you're not a day trader, if you're not doing anything less than 8-hour time frames because you don't close and open your positions within the 24-hour window, 4-hour time frame is not for you. Okay, this is good to know if you want to get a closer idea of how to get like the best, get your liquidity in and buy the dip. But like you technically should be looking at the 4-hour time frame. It's just technically irrelevant for you, especially if you're an investor. But that being said, for those traders out there, as of right now, Bitcoin is currently, we see this really strong bearish momentum, the 4-hour chart. It's a strong momentum here. Excuse me. We have seen this really straddle decline, and we're closing right now around 64.9, I believe. Let me just quickly double check at the market price right now. We have sustained this downward pressure for a little while. Yeah, so we're like at 64.2, 64.5-ish. We have sustained this downward pressure for quite a while. Like if you look at the last 7 days, we're still down by almost 4%. All right, and it's really reflected by like about several technical indicators. All right, so one of the key indicators that I'm looking at right now is the exponential moving average. All right, so that's the EMA for those who don't know the full name. And if we look at the 9-day EMA, we're below. It's way trending below the 20-day moving exponential moving average here, right? So this whole crossover, I believe, is still showing us short-term bearishness, right? And I think this really just kind of basically enforces the whole overall negative sentiment in the market right now, that there's no fresh money and people are taking profit in this Bitcoin spot ETFs. You know what? That's totally fine. I'd rather go a little bit sideways, a little bit healthy. Keep knocking on that 72K, 73K, or even 69K Bitcoin resistance until, a few months later, we're probably going to break it sooner or later. But my guess is still sooner than later, right? We have yet to jump into the July and August summer yet, but so we have still have plenty of time. It's a good solid, like, what was it, 9 weeks left, right? If we do take a look at the MACD, that's the moving average conversion divergence, right? Yeah, I know it's a mouthful. This really does further just reinforce my bearish trend analysis here, right? As of right now, the MACD line is positioned just below the signal line, all right? And that's basically negative on the histogram, right? And that's basically saying like we're going to have a little bit more bearish momentum. So if you're hoping to be longing, I don't think you should be longing. As a matter of fact, you should be looking for opportunities to get your funds in if you want to short. Just be careful of how much leverage you're using because we are a little choppy if you zoom out a little bit, right? We're choppy all the way between like what 68 to 60, 64. Now we're like dipping out 64 now, right? So additionally, if you do take a look at the RSI, that's the relative strength index, we are well below the 40s on the 4-hour time frame. Remember, your level analysis right now is the 4-hour time frame, right? And this really indicates that, you know, of course, while we got selling pressure and it's still there, it's still heated up. The market, it hasn't really reached that oversold territory. It's still in neutral. Like 40s is neutral. This is like until I see like 35, 34, I might be a little bit more, you know, leaning towards more of the oversold territory. But until I see like, and you want to play safer in the 4-hour chart, just wait until it drops below like 30. That's when that should really show a strong reversal. And it would actually, you know, notify you on the 4-hour chart that, you know, it's time to go long, right? Going long is imminent. But as of right now, because we're in the low 40s, like we're nowhere close to being pulling up yet. So we still got a little bit of way to go, right? As of right now, the key support levels that I believe that I would be keeping my eyes on are, as of right now, we got well, we already broken my last support levels, right? I'd say it'd be like 63.8 right now. If we do take a little bit below that, I would be looking at 63.8 and 63.2, and then I'll be looking all the way even lower than that. If they break those two support levels, I really think that we're going to go in for a very nice happy dip. All right. So for traders out there, you guys should really be exercising caution. I would not be longing. This is not the right time to be longing at all because we have yet to finish this dip, right? Finish this correction, right? But that being said, for those who are hoping to buy the dip on the spot, I think you guys should definitely wait a little bit longer. I would be waiting a lot longer. I'm just holding my stables. There's no need to get in right now. There's no rush. The bearish trend is still strong. I'd wait at least like the 4-hour chart is almost irrelevant at this point if you're gonna like just buy the dip as an investor, because then you just wait at least 3 days. And by then, like the current 4-hour chart is literally irrelevant, right? And that's why I keep telling you guys, like the 4-hour chart is perfect for day traders. You're opening, closing your position in the next 30 hours. It's great. But if you're not opening, closing your position in the next 30 hours, do not look at the 4-hour chart, guys. All right. That being said, let's jump to the 1-day time frame. And this is a lot more relevant for those who, you know, are buying the dip like 2-3 times a month, right? Especially for those who are getting, you know, your bi-monthly salary, or even if you're getting like your salary once a month, like I do, like because I live in Japan, then you know you can buy the dip like 2-3 times, especially if you're too busy. Then the 1-day time frame is something you should be looking at. And that being said, let's take a look at the Bitcoin 1-day time frame chart. And right now, it's the same. It's similar. Well, I wouldn't say the same, but similar to the 4-hour time frame. It's still bearish momentum, right? But here's the kicker, right? It has the potential areas for consolidation right now. All right, so we do see the price. It's been really pressured recently. I'm just surprised we're still like more on the bottom, below 64.2 right now. We are down by about 4% if you compare to last Friday. So that doesn't really say a lot, right? Do keep in mind that, like, you know, we had that double. We did see on the 1-day time frame that we had that double top, guys. We did that. We touched a little bit base on the 72K in May and in June, and this is one of the most bearish chart patterns we see. Like the top, we round with the break it, and that's where we're like consolidating down again. All right. So now that we obviously break down below 66K, right? We got further decline. We still got more space to move. So if you're more of like a swing trader like me, or if you're more like a long-term investor, I still think you should be holding your position unless you're shorting. All right. So if you want a long, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. We're just like, look at the fear and greed index, guys. Today it's like 52. We're like, this is choppiness. We can go up, we can go down, we can go literally up and down, and continue for a few more cycles. So this is choppy. I would not be long at this point. If you supporting my whole bearish outlook right now is the 50-day moving average. Yes, that's right on the 1-day time frame. And if you take a look at the Ichimoku cloud indicator, like this is actually one of my favorite like indicators when I was like a more beginner trader. I do think that like when you look at the lower boundary of the Ichimoku cloud, you do see there's that key support level there, right? And if then you take a look at the MACD, right, you do also see that we're at that neutral point right now. And then if you take a look at the RSI, the one on the 1-day time frame, we're just shy, just a little bit below 50. So guys, like the fear of greed index, we're 52. We can go either way. We can go back up, we can go back down. But you know what? Considering what I'm taking a look at the smaller time frames on like the 12-hour chart, the 8-hour chart, the 4-hour chart, I just don't see the point in going long right now. So if you want to buy the dip, sure, just buy a little bit, and then if it goes down again, if you like another 2-3%, especially if you're buying Bitcoin, sure, just buy a little bit again. Just dollar cost average, that's probably fine. But if you're like using leverage to like trade, I just don't see like I don't see the risk to reward ratio to be rewarding if you're going to long. I would actually like shorting instead of long. Your chances of making some cash to shorting is probably a lot more better if you're looking at the 1-day chart, right? So I do see that we're going to be able to continue to fall just a little bit more because we do see sellers targeting the next psychological level just shy around 60K. That's the psychological one, right? If we do take a look at the Elliott wave analysis, all right? So this is like your bread and butter. If you ever want to get to like more professional trading on like as a day trader, you need the Elliott wave analysis. This is like your bread and butter, right? Without it, you will not have like any form to basically figure out your risk reward ratios and your stop losses. You need your Elliott wave analysis. That being said, if you take a look at Bitcoin, the 1-day time chart, we're still here. We are in the middle of the correction phase right now, right? So we did have that double top pattern, and subsequently we do see that decline right now. All right. So as of right now, this whole corrective wave pattern before is potentially resuming more of like a longer term uptrend, right? So if you're a swing trader, more like me, I think you should be really watching for these key support levels, especially the 60K psychological one, and really be prepared for possible bounces. I see it more like just a bounce and we just come back down. This is going to be volatile, guys. All right. So we're going to see a little bit more decline. All right. And really good depends on like, the market sentiment and whether we get more fresh liquidity or not. I don't know if you guys noticed about like just recently in the last 24 hours, we had some really interesting news from Canada, my home country, and they're actually like going to launch like a Solana ETP. Well, sadly it's not an ETF, but that's fine. But the cool thing about that Canadian ETP for Solana, they actually have staking rewards built in. So I think that's just amazing. But that being said, it's still going to take months and months for really to accrue some liquidity in that ETP. So even if you do want to buy Solana, don't expect some huge spike anytime soon, all right? We might just see a little bit less like retail selling pressure for Solana. That's all right. So that being said, let's jump to the Bitcoin 1-week time frame, because due to Bitcoin dominance right now, as long as you understand Bitcoin right now, it's smaller, and of course, more importantly, the larger time frame, you understand the whole market. All right. So that being said, the 1-week chart right now gives us a more broader perspective. And over the last few weeks, we have seen Bitcoin being quite a lot of pressure. We've seen that double top, right? But if you look at the weekly chart, right, we do see that the price is stabilizing just above the March lows, right? But it's not showing any significant upward momentum. So this really says that we might just have another week or two to really consolidate right now. So and this really period of consolidation that for Bitcoin is setting the stage for that parabolic rise, guys. So if you guys haven't been here in the last late 2020 or early 2021, you guys are in for a show. Like, even if you buy, even if you're not much into crypto, you just have a little bit. Oh, guys, man, we're talking about parabolic rise. Like, there's only a point about talking about like what like 5 or 6% gains. We're gonna see like something crazy, like 8%, 10%, 12% gains every day, literally every day, every other day. It's gonna be insane, right? So if you haven't experienced that 4 years ago, you're really in for a great ride. So it's really great opportunity to start, dollar cost averaging in the next 2-3 weeks if you can. If you can't, do what I did in 2020, start selling everything you don't need. I sold my microwave 4 years ago just to buy more crypto. But if you can 1 year later, you can sell your crypto and buy 3 more microwaves, 4 more microwaves. All right. So there's always a little sacrifice to everything. All right. So that being said, back to my 1 week time frame. We do like to take a look at the Bollinger Bands, and I think this really on the weekly chart really shows a more of a tightening around that current price level, right? And this often basically signifies, of course, really happy price movements. Now, do keep in mind, if Bitcoin does break below that midline of the Bollinger Bands, guys, we could be in for some crazy slide all the way down some 55K. I'd be really, shocked if it goes down below 55, maybe a quick dip to 53, 52, but I think we can easily hit all the way down to 55K, especially if you guys are looking at the Fibonacci retracement levels, right? And this really indicates that potential significant downturn. Now, do keep in mind on the other end, right, if we do have that bounce off in the middle line, right, in the midline on the Bollinger Bands, and we do have that upward momentum just starting to kick in, we could see us jump all the way back up to the upper part of the Bollinger Bands around the 73, if not break that, possibly around 76K. And that's the rally that I'm actually waiting in the next 2-3 weeks, right? Well, but we'll see how it goes, right? Do also keep in mind, if you turn on the Ichimoku cloud indicator, this is great for beginners. If you're a beginner trader, just look at the Ichimoku cloud. I think it's just it says a lot, especially on the 1 week time frame. And it really shows right now that Bitcoin trading is nearing that edge of that cloud, right? So it's basically I guess you could say it's like do or die situation for Bitcoin. And if we break above that cloud, that's going to be really bullish. But if we don't, and if we fall below the cloud, guys, that's we're going to have some Canadian Niagara Falls, like a big waterfall down. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. But overall, guys, the 1 week, if you take a look at the 1 week again, it really does show that we have a lot of, regardless of the uncertainty that we do see, we're going to, it's just consolidation, right? And so this, at the end of the day, it's just your chance to get cheap Bitcoin. Or if you're not into Bitcoin because you don't want it as a store of value, but you want more like a swing trade, you want to go long term through spot, that's totally fine too. Go buy your Ethereum, Solana, whatever, right? So do keep in mind, I do think the market sentiment right now on the 1 week time frame, and of course the more broader economic conditions that we're seeing right now, especially geopolitical situations, they're going to play a crucial role in determining how Bitcoin's future is going to move in terms of price movement within the next few weeks. All right, so hopefully you guys have gotten a better understanding, second opinion of my technical analysis for the 4-hour, 1 day, and 1 week time frame. Let's take a look at some really important news and advancements that we've seen the last 6-7 days. And there are 3 specific big news I really do want to comment on. So first and foremost, I do want to talk about free money. Yes, I'm going to be talking about in one specific airdrop. And hey, guys, who dislikes free money? All right, you just have to put your hand out and take it. It's right in front of you. And I'm talking about the LayerZero airdrop. All right, this is going to be big because if I remember correctly, they're almost like airdropping like a big chunk, like a quarter of like their total token supply. Right, I was somewhere around like 23% or 24%, something like that. Basically, a whole quarter of them. Right, and of course, we have seen LayerZero, their whole CEO. I think his name's Brian. He mentioned about like just a few days ago that the airdrop is going to be huge for both users and developers, guys. So with that, we have about 8.5% is going to be immediately claimable, right? And then we're going to do see some allocations for very specific core contributors, right? You got the specific ecosystem project, the community pool, and whatnot, right? But that being said, like the remaining tokens, they're all going to be gradually, not immediately, but gradually distributed over the next 3 years. You do have that vesting schedule, and that's a healthy thing, all right? You don't want to see any like insane vesting schedule when you start seeing like, all of a sudden 2 months later, you can see like, 10%, 15% unlocked. It's crazy. Like you've seen that in a few other projects before, and it's never good for price action. It's just like you see a huge dump, So I'm really glad to see that they have this like really very like smooth vesting schedule, like broken down for the next 3 years, and that really ensures like everything's fair. No one gets like go in the red if you bought like LayerZero recently, especially if you buy it on the spot market. And then of course that also removes a lot of like active wallets trying to like engage in what we call Sybil farming, right? That's basically when like you see people trying to use multiple different wallets to maximize their airdrop allocations. Yeah, it is a thing. So do keep in mind your IP can be traced in a certain very interesting way. It's pretty advanced to track IP, but it's possible, guys. So please be careful when you make transactions on chain. All right. So the CEO did also mention that ongoing distributions, like their way to crack down on Sybil, is going to be a little bit different.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Compared, depending on the number of eligible wallets. So we'll see how that goes. We'll probably gonna see more information on this in the next few days. So definitely keep your eyes on that. Now we do see that users can now already check your eligibility. So if you have like various different wallets, if you have one specific wallet for DeFi, which you should, because that's just more the secure and the safe thing to do. Because that way, like if you, man, I shouldn't get into it, but you should have a separate wallet just for DeFi. And then once you're done with DeFi, just move your funds to your safer wallet that's not interacting with all these smart contracts on chain. But that being said, check your wallet that you're using with DeFi and see if you're eligible, because guys, it's free money, all right? It just takes like less than 20 seconds to go to the URL, put your address in, and check if you have free money. And all you have to do is to claim it, right? So definitely go check it out. LayerZero is a very, very prominent. They're big. They're well adopted. They're well vetted. They're well doxed project with great developers. So you don't really have to worry about them doing anything crazy. They're more concerned about you doing Sybil farming, right? So definitely spend like just 30 seconds, just go and check if you got that free money. Because if there is, guys, it's free money. Put your hand out and take it. All right. So I really do think that we're going to see a lot of very interesting like activity on LayerZero, because you see that Arbitron's record-breaking like airdrops in April 2023. So anyone got the Arbitron airdrop, you guys pay thousands of dollars. I think the LayerZero airdrop is going to be more or less the same thing, right? Except for people who aren't able to do Sybil farming. So that said, take a few seconds, go to the website, put in your wallet address, check. And if there's free money, guys, like really take your free money. All right. So the next news and the next progression that I do want to talk about, which is really, really big progress for the whole Web3 ecosystem right now. And that's actually the Ethereum SEC investigation. The SEC, for better, for worse, has closed their investigation on Ethereum. And you know what? I don't know for sure. This is my educated professional guess, but I have no doubt that probably Gary Gensler is a really smart guy, and he knows that there are certain potential concerns by not investing in Ethereum, because if you don't, and you don't pull out these specific concerns, basically you set a precedence to every single other layer 1, layer 2 blockchain to start their spot ETF. So they have to get Ethereum right. If not, you got this huge precedence for every other major big problem that will come for the new ETFs, right? Because literally they're going to go to court and say, hey, look, we're like Ethereum 2, we're like layer 1. How come you guys let them go have a spot ETF and not us, right? It's just so messy. And that's why, again, Mr. Gensler, as much as I do respect him, he is a smart guy. He gets a little too much heat for him doing his job. But that being said, I think my guess, he's probably got a lot of like heat from other like politicians to shut down that whole investigation on Ethereum, because at the end of the day, people want to legally move their liquidity, through their banks to Ethereum spot ETFs. And for better or for worse, they closed it. So for now, it's good. But what I'm more concerned about is what happens if like you have all these other layer 1 blockchains, especially the not so good ones. I'm not going to mention names, but like some are not so prominent ones starting to ask for spot ETFs, right? We're going to see problems with that, right? So kind of quick recap, right? The SEC's investigation, for those who are not familiar, there was a very big significant turning point. There's a huge contention there. Gary Gensler, Mr. Gensler was huge. He was just really jumping, making sure like, you know, he doesn't set a precedence for like just bad actors in the future, right? But we did see Consensus, right? And for those of you who don't know, Consensus, the software development company that made MetaMask, the wallet, right? And they just like announced just a few days ago that, you know, the investigation's closure. So, you know, Consensus on top of these things, right? And this basically means the SEC, they're not going to challenge or going to allegate any kind of sale of Ethereum that constitutes a security or transaction. They don't have to worry about that anymore, right? And basically, you know, what happened was like Consensus back in the days, they actually sued the SECs to basically seek a court ruling, basically trying to get them to say that Ethereum is a commodity, not a security. Quote unquote, a quote in point though, that those you guys might not be familiar with like the relationship, but like that's if the Consensus is going to want their court ruling that Ethereum is not a security but a commodity, guys, what are we going to see with Uniswap? Right, that's the main DeFi platform on Ethereum. So if you do find like a nice price to buy Uniswap, you should be buying, because you know at the moment we see those news coming out that like the SEC has dropped their case against Uniswap, and it's gonna they, and Uniswap has been well prepared for this court case, well prepared. You know, you're going to see the Uni token like spike like no tomorrow. But that being said, if you're a little bit concerned and you want to be able to have a more conservative portfolio, just go buy Ethereum. That's totally fine too. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much on that because Ethereum's such a big it's the second biggest market cap right now, right? It's like almost close to like what is it like 430 billion. So I don't want to spend too much time talking Ethereum right now because it's kind of like a no-brainer. That being said, I do want to talk about my next one, and I think this is going to be potentially the next Solana. Now, a lot of people are thinking it's going to be Aptos. I don't see a lot of Aptos adoption in East Asia. You do see some in certain parts of North America, Europe, but you know what? Facebook was never a big thing in East Asia. They've always had their own other social media platforms, and that's why like when they said like Aptos, we used to like or was it Aptos? I'm pretty sure that like, they were like broke down from like, or maybe it was Sui. I'm sorry, I'm getting like my blockchain crossed. But that being said, what I do think is going to be the next Solana, and I'm really banking on this. And I've been thinking the same narrative for the last 2 weeks is Avalanche. And let me get this straight, guys. Here's the reason why. So the last 24 hours, we've seen a very big Japanese company adopting Avalanche. And for those who are not aware, it's a Japanese gaming company, huge enterprise, and they're called Konami. And if you guys haven't heard of it before, they made games like Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, or the big Nintendo one, Castlevania. All right, they have so much money. They have such a huge market presence. It's ridiculous, right? They're just as big as Capcom, Square Enix, like Sony, PlayStation, like a bunch of games game companies out there. They're huge in Japan, all right? And they are making a significant, huge move into the Web3 space. Now, don't get me wrong, they do have participation in a bunch of all the gaming blockchains, but they specifically chose to partner with Avalanche now to specifically make a centralized NFT marketplace using Avalanche, and they're calling it reseller. I don't know what that means. I guess it means to resell platforms, to resell your NFTs. I think that's kind of cute in a way. But the most important thing is they have the opportunity to make this on other gaming blockchains that they're already associated with. They already have put some money in, right? I'm not going to mention specific which ones, but the one I do want to focus on, right, that they end up choosing to build the NFT marketplace on Avalanche. I'm so glad I sold a whole bunch of my other like Japanese gaming related like NFT like gaming related blockchains that are built by like Japanese companies. I'm not going to say the name, but like I'm so glad I just dumped my whole position and I just keep buying more Avalanche in the last 2-3 weeks. I'm so glad because I'm going to keep buying more Avalanche at this point. I really do think they're going to be the next Solana, because think of it this way, guys. This allows users, but more importantly, Japanese users and guys, Japanese people in Japan. It's a first world, a country with a first world economy and a big GDP. They got the money, right? They're not making like chump change. They got the money. And some people got a lot of money in Japan. They'll be able to participate in trading NFTs using Japanese yen. That says so much without, of course, the need for like Web3 wallet. That says so much. So you're going to see this really big onboard of really a lot of people because it's such a user-friendly approach that really lowers the barriers to entry, especially, the people who are, my maybe like 40 years old, so 50, like people older than me. I'm 38, right? So you're going to see a lot of people be able to just download this app and not have to worry about seed phrases, and they'll be able to like move their JPY yen to this app and then be able to buy NFTs. And they don't have to know anything about like, Web3 wallets. This is huge, guys. Really, you have to understand this is mainstream companies and brands adopting blockchain, and particularly in the gaming industry. And for those who are not aware of the significance of the gaming industry and the Web3 industry, when you have gamers like the 19, 18 years old, I'm sorry, you don't even have to be 19 years to play a Nintendo Switch or anything. You can be like literally 14, 13, playing Pokemon on your Nintendo Switch and get into, and as you know, Web3 is becoming the norm, the normal thing. Like, when you get to like high school, university, you got your game consoles. I know I did if you're a gamer. And guess what? They're going to be exposed to Web3 brand, and they're using Avalanche and sell NFTs that they want through the games or whatnot is going to be a normal, common sense thing for the younger generation, all right? So we're going to see a lot more new users being on board. And these new users, they're all going to be really new, guys. And on top of that, we're going to see the older generation be on board because they're the ones with the big money, right? So, and I think that's really cool because this new NFT platform that Konami is providing, Reseller, they're trying to simplify the whole process for you guys to engage NFTs. And you don't have to be living in Japan or actually JPY to use their platform, right? Because it's built on Avalanche, guys, right? And this really makes it a lot more accessible to even developers, right? And the reason being is that Konami's right now, they're really envisioning the whole developer to allow developers to use their platform, create NFTs, and here's the kicker, linked to their gaming environment. So they're obviously, guys, Konami makes their own games for their different platforms. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they make it for like PlayStation 5, and I'm not sure if maybe they make some Nintendo games platforms too. I'm not too sure, but the Konami's everywhere, and this really unlocks like this really in special game content or even like different functions as event tickets that you can like play a game and then earn it, right? And I think that you're going to see this huge initiative as like a really potential boost for Avalanche on the NFT market. And you know what that means? More money on an Avalanche blockchain. And what happens when we see more liquidity moving to one specific Avalanche blockchain? You're going to see exactly what you saw happen in 2020, early 2021. You saw a Solana went from, what was it, like 50 cents, 70 cents Solana to, I think it jumped all the way to $20. And then it jumped all the way to $40, and it started going crazy, like ramping up, like once we broke the $100 psychological barrier. It's crazy. We're gonna see the same. Like I do understand, like right now, what is Avalanche right now? I think it's pretty cheap. It's 27. Oh gosh, it's such a steal, guys. $27.57 right now. That is such a steal. Anything less than $30 is a steal, like hands down. And if it goes any lower, just keep dollar cost averaging Avalanche. I really do think this is the next Solana. This is going to be you're going to hit the mainstream adoption because you can see all these onboard new users through gaming, right? Now, do keep in mind though, right? Even though it sounds like I really am shilling Avalanche because I love to buy more. Do keep in mind that the NFT sector, we are facing a lot of challenges right now because you only see NFT like industry is kind of like the real estate industry, right? Except it's like digital. So what happens is when people actually make a lot of profit, they get to go out and buy houses, a second house, a third house, buy new apartments, right? But unless people make like big profits, you're not going to see liquidity in the real estate industry. The same thing happens in the NFT industry, guys. So once you start seeing we got like more of a polybar rise, Bitcoin gets pulling up Ethereum, and then Ethereum pulls all the altcoins up, and people take profits. You're going to start seeing a lot more liquidity going into the NFT industry. And if we see a lot of industry market being more focused on the Avalanche blockchain, guys, it's a no-brainer. Avalanche is gonna like jump, right? So I really do think like Avalanche has the real big potential to be the next Solana. And maybe like after Avalanche, maybe, I don't know, Aptos, maybe Sui. I mean, we'll have to see. We'll see how it goes. But I do think they all have really good technology. But right now, after we saw like, what was it, a month and a half ago, we saw like the big Korean game called Maple Story got built on, is moving towards using Avalanche technology as a subnet. And now we're seeing Konami. Guys, like we got South Korea on board, South Korean game companies, and now we got Japanese companies onboarding on Avalanche. Avalanche, the business development team is killing it. They're probably getting like bonuses left and right at this. They should be, because they're doing such a great job. All right, so hopefully I didn't like overshoot my enthusiasm for Avalanche, but I really do think that the Avalanche subnets are just getting more and more adopted at this point. All right, so we do have plenty of time. I think I left a lot of time for you guys to ask your questions. If you guys have any questions, and in my technical analysis or even my fundamental analysis, anything I mentioned today, definitely feel free to, hit like your hand, put your hand up, add an emoji. Let me see that I know that you're not AFK, and I'll pass the mic over. So I did see a name, and let me see if I can pass the mic. Just 1 second. Okay, wonderful. So I was able to pass the mic to Ramsey. I did see your hand up. Let's just give him or her a second to connect, because Twitter Space sometimes just takes forever to do so. All right, so it seems like you got the mic, Ramsey. Yeah, you can turn it on and ask your question. Go ahead. Yep, so it's the button on the bottom left, just in case if you don't see the mic is available for you. It just means that you probably need like a few more seconds for you to connect properly to the server. But yeah, once you get the mic, you can just turn it on and you can ask your question. Or we might be experiencing some kind of like technical difficulties. I'm not sure. This sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. But yeah, Ramsey, if you're unable to turn on the speaker, I unfortunately will have to pass the mic to the next person. But don't worry, if you come back to let me know. Let me see if I can pass the mic to someone else now. All right, so I saw DeFi Mayor. Let's give him or her a second, a few seconds to really connect. It does take a second. Oh, here we go. So DeFi Mayor, you got the mic. You can turn on the mic and ask your question. I'm starting to wondering, everyone's maybe potentially away from console today. Yeah, so DeFi Mayor, you got the mic, or maybe it's some kind of, oh, there we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead. What's your question?
All right, so my question is, what are the challenges you're currently facing in your project, and what are your greatest achievements so far?
Okay, so I just need to quickly note that I'm not a project. I work for the exchange. The exchange is actually the parent company of the company that I work for. But that being said, there's always different challenges when you work for if you're trying to if you work for a cryptocurrency exchange. You got like different. Right now, I guess I probably have to mention like there's a lot of regulations changing on different parts of the world for anti-money laundering and excuse me, KYC, obviously for anti-money laundering purposes. And there's still some countries are faster, and some countries are like insanely fast. The way above in front of the curve, like Dubai, a lot of countries in the Middle East. Qatar is really fast. Singapore's got their stuff down. Crypto's really big in South Korea for interesting reasons. So those countries, they got like a lot of their regulations and compliance down, but there's always still ever changing, right? And if as an exchange, if you want to like be able to expand in a very specific country, they have different laws that you need to abide by. All different laws you have to follow. You have to get your license. Like we see this happening in Hong Kong, right? Like they want to open up Hong Kong to for people who want to develop a Web3 and build the Web3 whole industry in Hong Kong for mainland China. But unfortunately, there's various different challenges that are faced there. You have to get your license and very specific license. They have very stringent policies. And that's why you saw like in the last I believe the last 3-4 weeks, we've seen a lot of like even big exchanges. They actually canceled their licenses in Hong Kong because they thought like right now just not the right time to enter the country because they're just not prepared since they have to overhaul a whole bunch of their software to make sure that everything's compliant. So I believe that's actually one of the challenges that all the exchanges are really currently facing. But I think that's just normal, and I think that like I don't work in the compliant department, but like I do know that some of the staff in our compliant department, they have their work cut out for them. So what I do say is that definitely is always a really interesting challenge that every single exchange is currently experiencing because the world is we see crypto getting to more of like a mainstream adoption phase, and you see banks start adopting like cryptocurrency like services. So that's why compliance and regulations are so important, and we have to stay on top of it because just because it's like made for a country and executed, that doesn't mean there not going to be new laws and bylaws and new thing and underlying like things that you have to change, especially like the service and products, and especially the software we're providing. Right? They have to be. There's just so many different like changes and requirements. And that's why you see certain exchanges. They actually have like subsidiary firms that actually operate independently, pretty much independently in a very specific country, right? And that's the reason why. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for asking your question. Let's see if there's any other anyone else asking for the mic, and let's see if I can be able to pass it. All right, so it seems like that's all for today. But and with that, we're gonna wrap up our AMA. A huge thankful to everyone who joined us today's Twitter Space session. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, my insight, of course, you can see I'm really enthusiastic, really sharing my analysis for everyone because I really do hope at the end of the day I'm really helping you guys and giving you that second opinion to really help you better. Making sure that your trades are on top, you're on top of your trades, as well as making sure that you guys stay on top of the big changes, whether they're good or bad. But that being said, we're going to have very interesting new AMAs coming up next week. So definitely stay curious and keep learning, guys. Have a good one.